Welcome to Austin 2021 F50 Global Capital Summit. My name is David Cao. I'm the moderator today. Today, I want to introduce a very influential local woman venture capitalist. She is the managing director of Expa, a pre-seed Series A venture fund about $200 million. And Lisa has been very active in the venture ecosystem in Austin. Please welcome Lisa.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, Lisa, you have been very active in the startup venture ecosystem in Austin for the last few years. And I believe you have lots of stories. Great to have you here. So maybe you can do an introduction of yourself.
Great, yeah, I'd be delighted to. So I'm originally from New York City. I've been in the startup space for well over a decade, and currently I'm the managing director of Expa Venture Capital. Expa is a $250 million venture capital fund. We invest in early stage startups, anywhere from pre-seed to about Series A. I will be running the pre-seed program, so I'm running Expa Accelerator, where we invest either $250,000 or $400,000 in early stage startups. I'm really excited to be the managing director at Expa. Expa is Garrett Camp, the co-founder of Uber's VC, and he essentially built Expa to be what he wished existed when he was building Uber. So for us, it's really about creating founder first principles and ensuring that we're providing support and resources to enable founders to succeed in their endeavors. And prior to Expa, I was the head of program at Indeed's incubator. Indeed is the world's largest job site, and I oversaw their global incubator program, where we were an internal product accelerator charged with pioneering new innovations at the corporate level for Indeed. And then prior to Indeed, I was in Buenos Aires, Argentina, where I was a founder, a builder, and an entrepreneur myself. I founded an organization called Startup Buenos Aires, which was an early stage startup accelerator. And I worked with thousands of founders throughout Latin America to ensure that they had proper resources, access to financial capital, and we built community and education to ensure that they were able to scale and grow. And we built a startup ecosystem in Latin America. And I'm happy to be in Austin, happy to call Austin my home. I've been here for about 3 years, and I'm really enjoying getting involved in the local tech ecosystem and being a part of the growth that we've been experiencing here.
Great. That's lots of experience in the startup venture ecosystem. I do have lots of questions regarding that, but before that, maybe can you share us a little more about Expa, particularly since you are leading the earlier stage investment and accelerator program. Maybe you can share us what type of startups you are looking for to help, and is that limited to Austin or Texas?
Sure. So Expa, we are investment agnostic. So we invest anywhere from aerospace to fintech to SaaS. For us, it's really about the founding team, the problem space, and how much we believe in the problem that's being solved through these companies. And we don't specify a specific vertical that we invest in. It's really about the stage. So it's primarily pre-seed, seed, and Series A.
Got it. So I have one question about the startup venture ecosystem, particularly for earlier stage. Since I came from Silicon Valley, I noticed that Austin actually has a pretty sophisticated and relatively matured earlier stage venture ecosystem. There is about, I think, nearly 10 different accelerators and a couple entrepreneur network and lots of angel networks. So however, the numbers, the size is a lot smaller. I believe the startup venture ecosystem had grown a lot the last few years, but still have lots of more space to grow. I want to ask you, since you were involved with several players in the ecosystem last few years, maybe where do you see the strengths of Austin's startup earlier stage ecosystem, and where are the weaknesses? How can be improved?
Sure. I think that Austin is doing a really great job in growing in terms of its development, its city, its maturity. We're getting a lot of new blood in the city, especially over the past year. I think Austin's changed more in the past year than it has changed in the past decade, when you're looking at different VCs and different players and different startups and different corporations that are creating hubs here, because they recognize Austin is a very robust city ripe for disruption. There's a lot of really friendly infrastructure for startups, for founders here, and there's a very strong community element. I think In terms of strengths and weaknesses, I think there's a lot of human capital. And because it is such a transient city and there are a lot of transplants that come from coasts, we're bringing in different cultures, which I find to be really valuable in this space. I think that there's a lot of opportunity for growth as well. I think that there's more funding opportunities. I think that there's more opportunities for mature companies to come in and set up headquarters here. It's a very viable place to start a business. It's a very viable place to scale a business. And it's a viable place to find human capital to run that business. So I think that there are a lot of opportunities here. I think our strength is how friendly the environment is. There's a saying that my friend Ashley Jennings at UT Accelerator had told me. She said, if you go to New York, everybody's like, who are you? If you go to, San Francisco, everybody's like, who are you? Go to DC, everybody's like, who are you? Miami, who are you? And in Austin, it's how are you? And it's just a really great testament to just how friendly and warm people are here. And especially in the venture space, when you're looking at deals, it can be quite competitive in places like San Francisco, New York, Boston, other really big tier 1 cities. VCs are generally competing with one another for deal flow. Here, I don't see it as competitive. I think people are really open and friendly. And, when we pass on a deal, I'm happy to share it with other venture friends of mine, vice versa. And so just because it might not be a good fit for us doesn't mean it's not a good fit for other VCs. And we all just want to see Austin succeed. We want to see each other succeed. So I think one of the greatest strengths that Austin has as a city is the camaraderie and the friendliness. And we don't really see each other as competition. It's more, we have a shared mission, we have a shared vision. We all want to see Austin emerge as this tier 1 successful venture hub. And whatever we can do to work together to do that, I think is really valuable. And I think that people are very open to that ethos of giving back and paying it forward and working together to build something great.
How are you? I really like that. Great. Yeah. Okay. So follow on that question, I do have lots of VC friends in California and in New York, other part of the country wants to invest in Austin since Austin is so hot right now. That's it. For external VC who would like to invest in the best startups in Austin, where do you think they can find the deals? Where is the right channel?
I think just getting involved with the local community would be really helpful. There's so much going on in terms of startups here. We have a lot of different entrepreneur groups. We have UT and great universities that we can leverage really great tech talent and entrepreneurial talent. There's entrepreneurial programs, there's accelerator programs. So I think it's about tapping into the existing activity that is happening in Austin and creating partnerships with people who are boots on the ground here that you can really make the most meaningful and strategic investments.
Okay, great. So let's turn the question to another end, the startup end. So we had to help lots of different startups. Many of them, of course, in Silicon Valley. Some of us ask me, if I move to Austin, where should I set up office? My question to you is that since I know the downtown area, there's a couple accelerators and Google Office, there are also the new domain area. There's a Stellar Park, and also there's the place near Oracle, near the airport. Where do you see the innovations were happening in Austin right now? What is your answer to that question?
So it's funny, when I first moved to Austin, coming from New York City, I'm used to there being an epicenter of gravity. So I thought, I have to be near downtown. That's where all of the activity is. That's where all the action is. That's where everything happens. But in Austin, it's pretty interesting because it's a sprawled out city. There are different micro communities and things happening in multiple areas throughout Austin, anywhere from the east side to downtown, to the Domain, to the north side, to even Cedar Park and some parts of the suburbs and Westlake Hills. Like there are so many different micro hubs within Austin. I think it's really interesting because it's not just about needing to be in one center of gravity. It's about creating different communities around town and being able to see what works for you and your team and where you want to set up. I mean, I think there's a lot happening on the east side. I always look at the east side as like what Brooklyn was 10, 15 years ago, or what Williamsburg was 10, 15 years ago. And so for me, I personally, I live up north. I'm in Northwest Hills. I like trees. I like nature and being close to hiking. So I personally like being in this area, but I very frequently travel. Downtown is obviously a big hub. The east side is a big hub. And then of course the Domain is another one, but it's not as central. It's a bit more decentralized in Austin as it would be in other major cities.
Okay, great. So as a new immigrant to Austin myself, I came from California background. I like the west side, which has hills, lakes, trees, hiking trails, yes. So one of the questions I have is regarding our theme is Global Capital Summit. We have investors all over the world, from Silicon Valley, from New York, from India, from Russia, all over the place. So we want to connect Austin's / Texas startup ecosystem with the global venture capitalist, so we can help Austin maybe grow faster. You live in New York before, and also Argentina. You have quite a international background here. So I want to ask your thoughts about as a local venture capitalist. Where do you think the value to bring to connect Austin with global different innovation centers?
Well, I think that there's a lot that the government's doing and the Chamber of Commerce is doing in terms of building these economic ties globally in Austin. I think that we're a very friendly city in terms of opening to global capital markets and working with different international players. I know there's a few programs that bring international entrepreneurs to Austin, especially during South by Southwest when you're looking at those types of festivals and summits. I think that there's a lot of opportunity to open our doors and to welcome international investors and international entrepreneurs. Also, UT is a globally recognized university. It's a humongous university with a great reputation, and we have an incredible amount of international students that come through there. So I think that that's also another area that we can really focus on. How can we bring more talent into the city? You know, when it comes to talent and human capital, it's borderless. And so I think being in a place like Austin that is very friendly, that, you know, it is not a homogenous, Austin is not a homogenous city. There's people from all over the world, all over the states. And I think positioning in terms of location, being in the middle of the country and having access to both coasts is really valuable in terms of setting up shop. So, you know, when I used to live in New York, it would take me an entire day to fly to San Francisco. You know, when I lived in Argentina, it would take me 2. And when I lived in Japan, it wasn't even possible. So, you know, I think just having in terms of a location and being geographically located in the middle of the country is really valuable to get to a lot of different ecosystems around the US and even Latin America as well. We're a 2-hour flight from Mexico. And so that's opening up a gateway to the entire Americas that I think is really valuable when you're just looking at geographic location. But when you're looking at policies and infrastructure and government support and you know, education, I think that there's a lot of programs that are available to welcome global entrepreneurs and global investors to Austin. And I think in terms of this goes back to the last question, is I think people in Austin are just very friendly and open, and we want to build community. And it's not something that we know we have to, it's not about building walls. It's not about being an insular city. It's about really breaking down those walls and ensuring that we're welcoming people with open arms and ensuring that we have really smart, capable, talented people that want to make Austin their home, and we're welcoming them and creating a way for them to scale and grow and succeed here.
Okay, great. Follow up with that question. So as an Austin VC, what type of resources from different cities around America, around the world, you would like to invite them to come to Austin?
That's a great question. I don't know. I mean, I think that we have a lot of resources in town. I think there's this big trend of venture capital funds that are moving from the coasts to Austin. And I think once you bring in more money, you bring in more opportunities. And I think it's not just about, you know, saying we want more diversity, inclusion, and belonging, but it's about funding, you know, those underrepresented founders. And I think bringing in more venture capital here and bringing in more smart, talented people, I think that will provide more resources, primarily when it comes to funding, because it's about putting your money where your mouth is. You know, you can talk about how great it is to work with diverse founders and underrepresented people, but if you're not funding their endeavors, then you're not giving them the chance to really grow and scale. And so I think by bringing in more money and bringing in more investment dollars and writing more checks and deploying more capital is going to provide those resources that founders and entrepreneurs need in order to scale their businesses here.
Okay, great, Lisa. I really appreciate your time. So I want to conclude this session with you give a summary of maybe an invitation or something to our global investor audience to tell them a message.
Sure. I mean, I have to give a plug for Expa. You know, one of the great things about Expa is we do invest internationally. We are, you know, we are a decentralized accelerator. So we have investments anywhere from the UK and Europe to the coast to Latin America. So really, if you're looking for a very strong and involved strategic partner, we don't just write checks. We're not just financial partners. We believe in creating long-term strategic partnerships. So I'd say for the founders out there that are international, don't be deterred by the fact that you might not be in Austin or you might not be in the States. There's still access to capital. There's still ways to scale your company. And if you're interested in Expa, I'd be happy to have a conversation and welcome you to apply to our program. And if you come to Austin, I'd love to meet you for a coffee or have a call at some point.
Okay, great. Thank you, Lisa. Looks like you had offered coffee to lots of people.
Yeah, we'll see. As long as my bandwidth is enabled. But yeah, I mean, like I said, Austin is a really friendly city. It's really easy to get involved. You just have to kind of put your foot out there. And now that the world is opening up again and we're starting to see more events, I think there's going to be a lot more meetups and a lot more opportunities to socialize and get plugged into the local community, because I think that is really where our heart is. It's in community and building that. So I welcome anybody who's interested to come to Austin and join our local community. And I guarantee you will be welcomed with open arms and some good barbecue.
That's a great invitation. Thank you, Lisa. Okay, that's all for today.
Thank you so much.
Okay, great. I think we had a